Welcome to the Double Broker Bounty Hunters Stop the Scam. Here are your hosts, the Double Broker Bounty Hunter, John Cantera, and Dispatch Kate, Caitlin Price. Hey folks, John Cantera here. Glad you could join us for another week of Stop the Scam. With me as usual is my co-host, Dispatch Kate. Kate, how the heck are you doing today?
I'm hot. I'm very hot.
We can tell that from the still picture, but I think a lot of the audience, it really wants to see you live, but that's okay.
I'm very warm. My body temperature is very high. Not me, my body temperature.
Look, I think everywhere can say they're hot, but folks, she's in Texas. So if any of you were actually out at the Texas Truck Show over the weekend out there in Houston, you know what hot is. And I understand that place, just like last year, was absolutely sweltering inside with all the people who were there. So you didn't get a chance to go, did you, Kate?
No, and I wasn't going to go because it was miserable last year.
Kate went last year when she and I were working with NOAA and helped man the NOAA booth. And that, that's an experience. Those truck shows can be something else. But in Houston, in the middle of the summer, can you pick a better time to do a truck show in South Texas? I mean, please, folks, there's got to be a better time. At least in Tampa, we know to do it in April or it was February they did it in Tampa. So they at least have a better sense of timing than the guys in Texas do. So a couple things that I want to go ahead and plug out there. First off, I want to introduce a guest who's hanging out with us. This is Eddie Wright. He's the owner of Right Away Transporting Services out of the Charlotte area. Glad to have you with us, Eddie. Eddie is actually one of my dispatch clients. So he listens from time to time. So we thought we might bring him on to give us some commentary on some of the scammers and stupid stuff that we keep hearing every day. Since he's not actually on the road right now, he's spending a little bit of time with the family and looking to entertain himself a little. So we've got him on the show. Glad to have you out here, Eddie. And you know your mic is there you go.
Yeah, I hear you. I told you earlier, my daughter, I don't want y'all to hear too much of the background.
Oh, it's fine. It's fine, man. You can mute and unmute to your heart's content. So I do want to start off this week sharing a few things that I've got on the docket. First and foremost, if anyone ever has any questions, concerns, issues dealing with fraud in the industry, you can always contact myself or Kate at any time. I'm at jcantera at vigilanttransport.com, or you can get Kate at kprice at rockdovefs.com. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us when you need to. The first thing I want to bring up is the Double Broker Bounty Hunters Fraud Prevention Webinar. We have remodeled our webinar to, instead of being a 4 to 5 hour event over one day, which is, well, let's face it, it was a little much. So we've spread it out over 4 days. So it's 4 modules to the course, 1 module per day. And actually one of Kate's dispatchers was in my class last week. I'm still waiting on her feedback, Kate. So she needs to go ahead and get that kicked over to me when she gets the chance.
I will let her know.
Yes, please do. So this course is primarily geared towards carriers, dispatchers, brokers, etc., who are not necessarily new to the industry, but may not have a background in what's going on with fraud in the industry. We basically encapsulate everything that we've learned over the last 2 years of dealing with scammers throughout trucking and put it together into a course to help people identify when they're in the middle of a scam type operation, how to address that scam, and how to defeat it. And if you wind up being suckered all the way through, how to get out of it gracefully at the end. So there are ways around that. That course also covers professional sanctions as part of Module 4. I released a video earlier today on the 12 deadly sins of trucking. This refers to the 12 possible accusations that appear in Carrier 411. For those who don't know, Carrier 411 is the agency who has pretty much a stranglehold on carriers. If you are a broker and you're looking for a good way to screen carriers to determine whether or not they're a good fit for your company and the type of work you have, Carrier 411 can be a good tool. But one of the things that carriers can't stand about Carrier 411 is their patented freight guard system. And the freight guard system, because there are so many brokers who subscribe to Carrier 411, the freight guard system has the capability to absolutely decimate a carrier's business. So even some of the lowest grade accusations that exist in Carrier 411 have such absolute detrimental results against the carrier. So I published a 45-minute video out on my YouTube channel at Double Broker Bounty Hunters. Check that out, subscribe, and I think it's probably one of the better videos that we've recently put out. So feel free to check that out and let me know what you think, make comments, etc. Definitely want to hear some feedback on our work. Now, our whole purpose here is to try to educate carriers and brokers and keep them from doing something stupid. And it's really on both sides of the aisle that we need to worry about here. You know, Kate and I sit here and talk all the time about the huge divide that exists between brokers and carriers. And right now, if we could ever get that divide to be put back together, I think you're going to see huge improvements in this industry. But it's inside that gap that these scammers like to operate. In the military, we call it the fog of war. It's basically that space where there's a smoke screen where one side really doesn't know what's happening with the other, and the scammers love operating in that space, and that's how they exploit this industry. And that really, frankly, leads to our purpose for this show and for all the things that we do professionally in dealing with fraud in the industry. I don't know how many times I get called a reverse scammer because I do charge people to help them from time to time with certain things. I mean, what I do is not free. It takes a lot of time out of my day. So yes, I do charge for my services. But I'm not an attorney, so I'm not like charging $2,000 just for you to talk to me on the phone. So we handle things a lot better than that. So please check out my 12 Deadly Sins of Trucking. I think you'll find it a bit entertaining and definitely informative, especially if you're a new carrier. And like I said, that's only one small section of one module of our fraud prevention course. If you'd like to register for our course, please go to my website, vigilanttransport.com. Click on the education tab and you will see the registration dates on the schedule. Please click on the link and you can register from there. Okay, now that I'm done all my shameless plugs, Kate, you got anything you need to push? I know you got your dispatcher website out there.
Yeah. I don't ever advertise it, so people don't really. I mean, I don't know if it gets traffic. I don't ever check the analytics or whatever of it, so I really have no idea. But it's not something that I ever really push, unless people specifically ask, like, where can I find vetted dispatchers? Well, find them on this website right here. But yeah, nothing really. I worked with a brand new broker this week, and they were great. So those people are definitely out there, and not all new brokers are bad. I've never said that, but I do make it a point to warn people against working with newer brokers. But there are some good ones. And we found one.
Was this the one that we talked about back on Friday with was it with Darren?
Yes,
Who was
Dustin.
your driver for that? Dustin. Dustin was your driver for that. Okay, and what was that brokerage? Do you remember?
Maybell Industries.
Maybell Industries. Now, I appreciate you asking my opinion on them. Kate and I, we do try to bounce different brokers off of each other. You know, brokers have carrier 411. We carriers do not necessarily have that. And even us dispatchers representing carriers, we don't have access to the plethora of information that carrier 411 will have. So we tend to bounce thoughts off each other to try to evaluate from whatever sources we have any brokers that we think are new or could be potentially suspicious, so on and so forth. It is good to know for carriers who are out there listening that there are newer brokers that are coming online who actually are legitimate. So just because they're a new broker does not mean you don't want to work with them. What it does mean is you need to vet them. Okay. Just as much as these brokers vet carriers, carriers need to vet brokers. And there's lots of ways to do that. That would be in module 2 of my course. Another shameless plug. So thank you, Kate. Any other?
Course, by the way, it's a great course. Highly recommended. Full of an unbelievable amount of information. So definitely worth it.
Thank you very much. I did not pay her to say that, folks. I promise. I swear I didn't. But she did help edit the course. I will give her that. And she's been able to sit in through this latest offering to help continue with obtaining feedback and helping to make this course better. So, Kate, thank you so much for the help that you've been on the course and trying to get that together so that it's a quality product for anyone out there. I'm happy to say that I actually do have a couple of brokers and a factoring company talking to me about going to their offices to present this course for their entire staff. So this is a quality course. At least we feel that it is. We definitely would love more people to take it. We definitely would love to hear more feedback about it. So please check out my website, vigilanttransport.com. Go to the education tab and register there today. The next course offering is a week from tomorrow. Again, an hour a day, 4 days out of the week. All right. So did you have a double broker or a freight guard case you were working last week? Or are we into my cases now?
No, it's go into your case and then I'll tie mine into that.
Okay. So we've had a couple of cases that we've been working lately, and I'm sorry to say that there are some freight guards that you just can't get rid of. The three biggest reasons that I've ever seen that we have failed to get a freight guard removed would be if you're guilty of double brokering. Good luck. You're never getting rid of that one. Now, if you did it in a non-malicious manner, we might be able to make a case. But it is definitely a lot of work in that situation. Another situation where you're never going to get a freight guard removed is if the broker has a sizable financial loss as a result of whatever incident it was that brought the freight guard on. It's very difficult to get a broker to agree to relieve a carrier of a sanction when that carrier's negligence has brought financial harm to a broker. And the worst case scenario is when a broker loses a client. I have run into one such case, and it's what we're about to go into now. Like usual, we don't bring up any names here, but we definitely want to make sure that people understand these situations so they don't put themselves in these situations. So in this particular case, we had a carrier who was running a box truck and was bailing out a broker who needed a recovery. The original carrier broke down and they were in a lot. So the other carrier was coming in to help recover. Well, the original carrier, about 10, 15 minutes before the second carrier showed up, decided to leave the scene. The truck's broken down, so the truck's still there, the cargo's still there, but he abandoned the truck. He left for whatever reason. So he didn't hand off the BOL, and he didn't assist in transloading the cargo. So the driver pretty much had to do all that. Driver for the second carrier had to do that by themselves. Well, they didn't know what the cargo was at first. So they get into the truck, open it up, and it's a smaller box truck. If you're not familiar with box trucks, the 16-foot box trucks tend to run at about 3 feet deck height, while the 26-foot box trucks are usually dock high at about 4 feet. So the height difference usually means that the other truck's going to have to use their lift gate to bring the pallets out and move them onto their truck. So while this carrier was trying to transload the cargo by himself, we find out that the cargo is actually chocolate. Now, mind you, neither one of these box trucks are reefers, not a single one of them. So it's summertime, folks. Who the heck moves chocolate in something other than a reefer this time of year? No one. Hell, I don't even think anyone moves chocolate in a non-reefer trailer in the wintertime either. But that, without being said, is not really the biggest part of the problem. The biggest part of the problem is that the carrier, while they were raising one of the larger pallets up to their deck so they can put it into the truck, the pallet fell apart. Now, it was loosely wrapped as it was. It wasn't in great condition, and all the cargo fell off. So now you have the carrier trying to deal with all these small boxes that have all fallen to the ground and having to clean it up. So the broker pays extra money to the carrier to then clean it all up, repalletize it, and finally take it to delivery. So the carrier's like, okay, look, we want to make sure our butts are covered here. This is not really our fault, not really our problem, but we're doing all this extra labor here. We want to be indemnified of any issues should there be a claim. And so the broker in writing states, yeah, no, it's not going to be an issue. We're not going to file a claim against you for any of the damage from the pallet falling over. Okay, cool. So after about 6 hours, and I kid you not, the guy was there for over 8 hours restacking this cargo into the truck. After about 7 hours, I'm sure the guy was probably like, my God, I'm so damn tired of this. And he started throwing all the pallet or all the cargo into the truck just to get it into the truck so he can get on with his day. And he's running out of hours. He wants to go get some sleep. I don't blame him. But here's where I think the carrier went wrong. He was paid extra money to rebuild that pallet, and he didn't do that. So he went to the delivery the next morning. The broker was there. One of the broker's customers was on site, and they opened up the truck, and they see all these boxes scattered everywhere with melted chocolate everywhere. And it was a royal shit show. So huge claim. It was about $80,000 in damages. But as soon as they filed the claim against the carrier for all the melted chocolate and damaged product and all that good stuff, the carrier's insurance company's like, hey, you indemnified us in writing. So no, we're not accepting any liability for this claim. Frankly, that is a valid response. Now, mind you, I have not seen every little bit of communication dealing with this entire incident. I'm going a lot of what I was told from both sides. So the freight guard first went out about a month ago against the carrier for failing to resolve the claim because the carrier wanted nothing to do with it. And also fraudulent activity and all the other standard things that they throw on to freight guards. The list, there were like 4 different accusations on that list. It was pretty extensive. Clearly, the broker was upset. And in some cases, I would say rightly so, but certainly not all of them. So they hired me last week to try to advocate on the carrier's behalf to see about resolving the matter and see if the freight guard can get removed. That was a very short conversation. I have to give the broker a lot of credit. Very pleasant, very calm, very level-headed. And he's like, at the end of the day, this carrier has screwed me so bad by not even attempting to correct the situation that not only did I lose the customer whose load this was, but the receiver was another customer of his. And he lost that customer also. In essence, because he's a small brokerage, small one-man band, 60% of his business was gone that day. Now, when I hear that from a broker, I know that there's not a rat's chance in hell of getting that freight guard removed. What did throw me for a loop is that the broker filed a second freight guard. This second freight guard against the same carrier for the same incident, because according to the carrier's insurance company, they have some kind of special clause in their insurance that if they want to refuse a claim, they can refuse a claim and there's no debate about it. I'm like, okay, that does not sound right. I don't know of insurance that operates that way, but okay. And of course, when they filed the second freight guard, they mentioned the fact that I was involved trying to help the carrier. So that was something else. Axel, I appreciate you asking that question, but until the matter is completely settled, because I have not closed the book entirely on the case, I can't bring that up just yet. So, yeah, I'll get to you on that, because I know what you do, Axel, and I know you're going to want to have some fun with this one when you're looking for a new case to work. So with that being said, right now that's a dead issue. I would not expect anything to change anytime soon. And I explained to the carrier, look, there are some things you could have done better. So it's not just the fact that myself and Kate, when we're working cases like this, that we go and, we try to tell the broker, you're wrong, you're an idiot, you're doing the wrong thing, you're killing somebody unnecessarily. We also try to educate the carrier into, look, what you actually did wrong. This is what you need to fix. This is the best way you could have handled it. And that's what how we try to approach these things. So I told the carrier, I said, look, if your driver had made a better effort rebuilding that pallet, I know a bunch of small boxes, 100, 200, 300 small boxes on a pallet is a pain in the ass to build. I get that. Okay. But he could have taken that frankly shit show that was in the back of the truck, driven to Walmart, gotten a roll of plastic wrap, and then built the pallet up in his off hours, and then go ahead and wrapped it and made some kind of an effort, or even did it 5 minutes before he delivered it, just made some kind of an effort. I think this case could have been entirely different. Instead, you have a carrier that doesn't just have one, but two freight guards over the same incident within a month. Okay. You have a broker who filed both of those freight guards now, who looks like a moron, because clearly by throwing two freight guards over the same incident, there's definitely emotion in that. Okay. I mean, we all can agree that freight guards for the most part are emotional in nature, but in this particular case, to be so emotionally worked up that you throw a second freight guard on it, I think the broker's shooting himself in the foot for the carrier's advantage. I know if I was the broker looking at that and reading the information, you can tell it's a revenge, especially the second one, is a revenge strike. Therefore, how much credence do you put to the first one? So I don't think the carrier is going to have a lot of problems moving forward, but they're going to have a rough next 6 months. That's for certain. But I think they're going to be able to get it. And that was the big case that I had worked last week when it came to freight guards. But I have to give, I have to say, the case that I really enjoyed was a double broker case that was brought to me by a broker. Now, As the double broker bounty hunter, I get cases all the time from carriers, usually cases where carriers bid on a scam and they didn't get paid. That's normally the stuff that I end up getting. Very rarely do I get a broker calling me for advice on how to deal with things, and I'm very glad that they did, because I think we gave them a winning formula to try to help them. What ended up happening was this was an impersonation scenario. Uh, a broker was impersonated uh, to the real carrier to pay the real carrier a larger than normal sum of money to be able to haul a load. And, well, clearly it was double broker. So the carrier did manage to get a hold and find out who the real broker was, contacted the real broker, and announced himself, hey, look, I'm the one that actually hauled the load, so on and so forth. And thankfully, the real broker had not paid the scam carrier yet. So the broker called me and said, hey, look, I've got a contract with who we think may be the scammer. We're not sure which one's a scammer or which one's real. So we got a contract with this one guy. What should we do here? Do we have to pay him because we have the contract? And I said, absolutely not. Don't pay anyone yet. Okay? Let them know what the situation is and ask them to send you the actual bill of lading. Now, I can already hear carriers all across the state of Florida right now shouting at me, I'll be damned if I'm going to give up my physical BOL. Because as everyone knows, under 49 CFR 377, the person that has that BOL, the actual pen and ink document, is the one who is actually the final mile carrier, thus entitled to be paid by federal law. Okay, so I educated this broker to that fact. And I suggested to them, reach out to both the carriers and say, just go ahead and overnight us your physical BOLs. He's like, offer to pay for the overnighting, offer to reimburse them that number, and ask them to go ahead and insure the document so that, if it got lost, and no one can get paid if the paperwork gets lost. If the paperwork gets lost, then at least the carrier can file a claim on the insurance through whoever the courier service is and get paid that way. So explaining all this to the broker was happy with that. And then he called the who we think is the scammer and tried to explain to them what they needed to do. So I've got a video from that broker, or not a video, an audio file from that broker. It's 5 minutes long, detailing that conversation and how that went. So I'm going to go ahead and play that real quick.
Is being that there was another party, another truck driver that presented the same bill of lading that you presented. We consulted, like I told you, we were going to get with corporate. We consulted the corporate. Corporate says that under 49 CFR 377, we're asking both parties to submit the original bill of lading with the original ink pen and original color stamp. Overnight it to the address that you have on your invoice and insure it for the $2,800.
So I'm pausing it here real quick. I think the instructions were pretty clear. He followed exactly what I recommended to him, pretty much to the letter. And this guy's response is absolutely beautiful. Rational people would ask rational questions. You're gonna love this.
Okay, so whoever comes up with the original bill of lading is under 49 CFR 377 will be paid.
So we need to bring the bill of lading there?
You have to send it overnight, but insure it for the $2,700, $2,800, whatever the amount was on the rate confirmation.
You mean we need to write down on the BOL the $33,000?
No, what I'm saying is just overnight the bill lading, the original bill lading with the original ink stamp and the original signature that was signed in pen. And we're asking the same thing from the other party. They're going to be sending the original ink stamp with the original bill lading. Overnight it and just insure it on your end for the amount of the rate confirmation.
Okay, what do you mean when you say insure? I don't get it.
So
what should we do?
You're going to have to go to the
Doesn't get what
USPS,
insure means.
Not UPS and not FedEx, USPS, and you say, hey, I'm going to go ahead and send this overnight, okay, but I'm going to insure it for $2,800 or $2,700, whatever the rate confirmation was.
All right, let me see what. Give me a second. Okay, I got it.
Okay.
Just give me a second. Hello?
I think he's talking to his quote unquote supervisor now.
Hello. Hello.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, when I'm going to get paid?
Hello? Okay.
Sir, you are not going to pay us?
Who's this? I was talking with Bradley.
This is Brad. Yeah.
Is
yeah,
it
this
okay?
is Bradley.
Bradley, what's your last name,
Alex.
Bradley? Bradley, what's your last name?
I told you already. How many times do I need to tell you?
Okay, I gave you.
Listen, I'm not going to play a game with you.
We're
Listen,
recording this conversation.
I know that
We're
it's
recording this
Listen,
conversation.
Listen, Chris.
Okay,
Chris, listen.
Under
I
49
know.
CFR 377, we're asking both parties that submitted the bill lading to provide the original.
Chris,
Send it
I have all your
overnight.
information. Listen, I have your MC, your paperwork, your everything. If you're not going to pay us, I'm going to fuck your MC, okay? I'm going to contact the broker and book a load for your MC and then cancel, okay?
Well, we're saying just provide the original bill of lading. Whoever provides the original bill of lading will be
I'm
paid.
not going to do anything.
Under
If
49
you're going to pay us,
CFR
pay.
377.
If not, I'm going to
Okay,
fuck your MC.
this conversation
fuck your MC.
is from Amen Transport. Okay, this is being recorded for Bradley Suarez.
You cannot do with me
Okay.
anything. Okay? Listen.
This is
you
being
have
recorded.
one way only.
This is
you
being
have only one way. If you're not sending us the money, I'm going to fuck your MC. I have your all paperwork, and I'm going to contact brokers, book loads, and after that,
we got the lawyers. We just want the original bill lading. Send the original bill lading, and you will be paid. Okay, we're going in court. Transportation law 49 CFR 377. Okay, do you understand, sir? Sir, do you understand? Sir, do you understand what I've just said and I reported to you? Please send original bill of lading. Okay,
We already sent
and
original
sure,
bill of lading.
no, you send me a copy. I need with the ink signed by with the ink stamp and original pen mark. Please go ahead and mail it, and then whoever provides the original bill lading will be paid. Okay, under 49 CFR 377. Thank you. Is what?
Morris.
Morris.
M-O-R-R.
Let me. It's
Okay,
looping. I don't know.
So your name.
There we go. Okay. So that is the audio from this. So my hat's off to the brokerage, Copas LLC, who gave us permission to replay that. Of course, they also were very clear that they were recording that to the scammer so that they knew what was going on. And when I was speaking to the broker about all this back on Friday, I explained how this process worked, and I thought he was very clear in what the instructions needed to be. So again, the lesson for carriers here: if you are stuck in a double broker situation and you're concerned about not getting paid, then this is probably one of the best ways to deal with it. Your physical BOL is the legal document that proves that you are the final mile carrier. So I would never ask a carrier to send that off to somebody unless they have some form of protection. And that form of protection is by all means insurance on the document. Therefore, if the document for some reason gets lost, or if the broker in this case is a scammer himself and has me completely snowed, then they say, oh, the document's not here, the document's missing, we're not paying anybody. That's not the reality, I know. But if that were to happen, at least whoever did have the real pen and ink paperwork can then file a claim and still get paid for the load. So carriers, anytime that you are asked to do that, it is not a bad thing. It is definitely something that will actually work in your favor if you are, in fact, the real carrier. So I'm looking at some comments here. Axel, I know you want to know about this guy. We'll talk another time about this, certainly over a beer. And yeah, he is a typical double brokering crook on the other end. You could hear the accent, you could hear collaboration in the background. So this is usually a cluster of scammers operating together on different scams. It almost seemed like there were two different people who were trying to talk to this broker, and it was all to scare him. You heard the comments that the scammer was trying to make. Oh, I've got all your documentation. I'm going to report you, all this other stuff. If a broker does not pay a carrier, the easy, immediate solution is, okay, you don't want to pay. I'm going to file on your bond. That's fine. File on the bond. Go for it. But you have to have evidence to prove that you are, in fact, the rightful carrier in order for the bond to pay out. So if you don't have the evidence, you say whatever the hell you want. It ain't going to amount to a hill of difference. Now, here's the one thing I will caution. Any broker who is in this particular situation, bully tax, exactly. I've seen some of your shows, Axel. I know how you like to deal with these crooks. But one of the things that I do want to caution brokers who are in this situation, since this has been discovered before the scammer got paid, the scammer's already invested in a lot of time and effort to try to steal your money and to steal the carrier's money. So they're not just going to go away. They will try to scare you every which way they can. If you're a carrier and you thwarted a scam, they're going to threaten to throw a freight guard against you. They're going to threaten to report you to DOT. These are all scare tactics. Don't believe them, because these scammers, if they actually got themselves a Carrier 411 account and they actually managed to file a freight guard, they would immediately repeal it because it would expose them for the scammers that they are, and then they would end up losing their account. So, Kate and I, we've done a show with Darren Brewer at Carrier 411. I was back on episode 7, if anyone's interested. And their own internal practices for dealing with freight guards, they're pretty good, especially when it comes to dealing with scammers. They do track IP addresses for reports that come in. They do not allow reports that come from overseas IPs. And if somebody logs in from overseas or attempts to log in from overseas on an account, they do tend to cancel those accounts without the customer knowing that the account got canceled. So they're actually really good at trying to keep scammers off the platform, which I'm happy with. But here is the other shoe that brokers need to worry about: revenge against the broker. And in this particular circumstance, what I foresee is this scammer utilizing yet another fake carrier to try to book a load with this broker again. And if they are successful in booking a load and get their hands on that load, they will then hold it hostage and ransom that load, forcing the broker to pay not only for the load that was thwarted, but also the other load that they're currently sitting on. with no guarantee whatsoever that the load will actually get delivered. So if you are a broker in the situation where you stopped a scammer from ever getting paid on a scam, you need to be ready for round two. And that's them trying to come back after you to steal cargo from you and hold that cargo hostage and force you to pay through the nose to get it back. Okay. They like to do that through EFS codes or cryptocurrency or some other untraceable means. And it is just absolutely pain. Okay. I like Axel's thought here is for good brokers to put pressure on the load boards to minimize the access to these crooks. I would ride down the middle on this one, Axel. I'm not entirely certain that these brokers who are being impersonated on the load boards know immediately that it's being done. Usually the credentials for these load boards being given up in phishing scams. What brokers need to do is they need to train their people to not click on those phishing scams where they get an email from what looks like DAT saying, hey, we need to verify your credentials, please go ahead and log in real quick. Boom, you just gave the scammer your information. I had a broker that I'm close to, and she was sharing with me the one time that she got hacked. I guess it was about 3 months ago. Similar situation. One of her agents bit on one of those phishing scams. Then they advertise regularly on Facebook what they do. They're avid social media types, and they advertised on social media that they were going on vacation. So the very first day they leave for vacation, the scammer that captured their information immediately logs in as them and then starts booking loads like crazy. And within an hour, I kid you not, within an hour, there were 138 loads in 1 hour posted on this guy's account that was stolen. And they were all Amazon relay or power only loads, every last one of them. I would say more than half of them a carrier actually bid on and hauled them. So my broker friend started getting a ton of bills from carriers for doing these moves. And she's like, these were never our loads to begin with. No, we can't pay you. Sorry. And we do have expertise in dealing with that situation. So if you are a broker who is impersonated on DAT and a ton of loads are booked in your name, take down my information, please, and contact me when this happens. When you start getting invoices from those carriers, give my information to those carriers. I can help get them paid because 9 times out of 10, these are Amazon loads. I have access to the claims department at Amazon. I've got access to their portal, and I can get those claims processed quickly and get them paid out as quickly as possible. Amazon, being as big a company as it is, usually take up to 30 days to pay out, but at least the carrier is going to get something. It may not be everything they expect, but they'll get something for the work that they've done, and I can navigate the minefield of Amazon to make that happen. For those who are risk managers out there, yes, I am a bonded and licensed collections agent doing commercial collections. So if you ever need my collections information, email me and I'll send you a copy of my collections info. But yeah, we have that capability, and just to make sure that we are legal on our end and how we represent all of our clients to make sure that they get paid properly. So again, you come across a situation like that, all you got to do is hit me up by email, jcantera, vigilanttransport.com. You can hit Kate as well at kpricerockedovefs.com. She'll forward your case over to me, and we will get it worked on. But that is the fun that I have been dealing with most of the day Friday. In fact, I got to tell you, Kate, I had 3 cases like this on Friday alone. I don't know where the scammers started coming out of the woodwork, but Friday, was Friday a full moon or something? I mean, because they were out in force.
It may have been. It may have been. I'll have to look.
But yeah, they were out there. You got anything else going on?
I guess to teeter back to the whole chocolate story and all that mess. First of all, clearly that should not have gone on a non-refrigerated truck. It's chocolate. It obviously melts and it has dairy in it, so it should not go on a refrigerated or not a non-refrigerated truck. So, speaking of things that should not go on particular equipment or knowing your equipment, and this is really for the broker, and I guess some shippers if they ship direct or maybe if they're just entirely familiar, to know your freaking equipment. I had a guy. Can you pull up that picture that I emailed you, John?
Give me a minute. Go ahead and start describing it, and I'll pull it up and post it while you're talking.
I had a guy that was taking a load straight through from Elkhart, Indiana to Morris, Illinois. And it was about a 140-mile trip. Wasn't too long. Thought we were going to get it, drop it, same day, go on about our life. Whatever. We were told that it was building materials. So I operate with really only open deck trailers. So a lot of the stuff that we contract to haul is very vaguely descripted as building materials or construction materials or whatever. We've even seen like miscellaneous whatever, freight of all kinds. I mean, just whatever. It's very, very vague. But this one in particular said it was building materials. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe pipe or metal or lumber even, or just something like that. He gets to the shipper, they load him with this. And
that's yeah, that's something.
Yes. And
I don't typically see that on an open flat deck.
No, and you shouldn't. So the shipper had told the driver that it needed to be tarped. Well, the driver talks to the broker, and the broker says, no, it does not need to be tarped. Don't tarp it. Okay. Goes on about his way. Gets, I don't know, several miles out of Elkhart where he dropped it off, and gets out, or he noticed that it was like shifting. So he gets out, had to finagle the load to kind of get it back in there right, because it was shifting around. They're just loose boxes, and all that is those mechanical wrappers are they're pretty good. You can make them pretty tight, but when they're little tiny boxes like that, and it's an open deck and you're going 60 miles an hour, there's no guarantee. That stuff can tear, rip. I see it rip all the time because it gets caught on the corner of the boxes, whatever. And it's shifting. So this guy's like, what the hell? And the whole time we're like, we should not have taken this. Like, as soon as it was loaded, we should have been like, nope, take it off. We're not doing it. There's no way that we're hauling that on an open deck trailer. Well, he gets so far behind because the load's shifting that he realizes he's not going to be able to deliver until the next day. So we were forecasted to get some heavy rain. And we ended up tarping the load, and they did say it can either deliver straight through or the next day, whatever. But very specifically said it does not have to be tarped. So, mind you, those mechanical wrappers do not wrap the very top. It goes in a circular motion. Basically, that pallet spins on a what do you call it? It spins on something.
Platform.
Yes.
Platform.
Spinning platform, pallet spins on it, whatever, and it's this big roll of saran wrap that goes all the way around it. It does not wrap the top. So the top is open. And this driver's like, well, hell, I'm not gonna, if I don't tarp it overnight, then the shit's gonna just disintegrate. So he tarped it. The whole thing was just a pain in the ass. Well, the next day I reached out to the broker and I said, hey,
And the owner had requested extra pay for having to tarp it. And he came back and said, basically, I'm not paying you anything. The load didn't have to be tarped. You didn't have to do that. So we're like, okay, well, your freight would have just been disintegrated in rain, and it would have been a mess. So should be lucky that we tarped it. But whatever. That's prime example of shit that should not go. Putting stuff on a certain kind of equipment that should not be there. That should have went in an enclosed trailer. Somehow I get that maybe they're like, oh, it's tall, it won't fit in there. Okay, they can very easily just ship more pallets and make them smaller. I mean, I used to be in shipping. I used to do that crap all the time. So you can very easily just take some boxes off, make it a little bit shorter, put it all in a van.
It's just insane. That the way that was done overall is insane. It's important to do proper selection of equipment. Now, I understand there's a lot of cargoes out there that can go van or hot shot. That's fine, but know what you're getting yourself into. You're looking at boxed cargo there. You don't necessarily know what's in the boxes, but the boxes are well stacked. They're well wrapped. Clearly, they have value. Is it not the carrier's professional obligation to protect cargo when cargo is under their control? And if protecting the cargo means that the carrier had to go and tarp that cargo, the carrier should be paid for that. Now, I know there is nothing out there on the rate confirmation or in the letter of the law that gives a carrier the ability to sit there and say, screw you, bastard, I did the work. You're going to sit there and you're going to pay me. I mean, you can, by way of tariff, if you've announced your tariffs to the broker, then send a separate invoice for your tariffs and then send a collections agent like me after them. You can do that, but whether or not you're actually going to collect on it is very slim. And it's not worth, of course, taking to court for $100 worth of labor. But kudos to the carrier for stepping up and going the extra mile to protect the cargo. The broker should be thanking the carrier, even if he doesn't pay him. Should at the very least thank him for stepping up. And the fact the broker doesn't recognize that, someone needs to call that broker out on that crap, because that is crap.
It is the carrier's responsibility to make sure that the cargo is safe and properly secured and whatever while in transit. That's part of the carrier's legal responsibility. So
to sit there
that's where
and to
claims
refuse
come
to
in.
pay, exactly, and to sit there and refuse to the carrier that, for you doing your professional obligation, I'm not going to pay you, because I told you didn't have to do it in the first case. Yeah. The carrier just saved the broker from a massive claim. What is in those boxes? Nobody knows. It's just classified as building materials.
We actually did find out what it was. Let me find out. I don't remember. I got it texted to me.
I mean, my point is, if it's something that turns out that it can be sensitive to moisture, then the carrier by all means did the absolute right thing and saved the broker's ass. And the broker needs to recognize that stuff. The broker should give up a portion of their margin in appreciation for the carrier to save their ass with their customer.
Foam gaskets. So classifying that in a
like
broad
cargo
term is pretty interesting.
Yeah. Now, foam can have issues if it's wet, but it depends on what type of foam and whether or not it's able to dry out. And, you have molding issues and stuff. I mean, Brandon, I understand that that's a matter that's up for debate. But if you're going to sit there and you're going to give information to a carrier, brokers, please, I'm not beating up on you today, but make sure that the carriers have all the information possible about an issue. I mean, like the carrier dealing with the freight guards that I did last week. Somebody should have told that carrier it was chocolate. So the carrier could sit there and say, chocolate, I don't have a reefer. You know, because most carriers know in the summertime, you're hauling chocolate, that stuff's going to melt. I mean, hell, anytime, yeah, I'm a big boy. You know, I got chocolate in the car coming from the grocery store, man. I make sure that shit gets in the house right away. I don't want that stuff sitting in the car any longer than it has to. Ain't nothing worse than a melted Reese's peanut butter cup. Man, ruins my day. But, you know, you can spare your customer blushes if you make sure that the carrier knows what kind of cargo they're actually hauling. Well, we're getting up towards the top of the hour here, and we need to go ahead and start wrapping this up. I'm seeing some of the pictures. We're going to save some of these pictures for next week's show, Kate, if that's all right. Appreciate you texting those to me. If you emailed them, I can put them up right away, but that's all right. But we are coming down towards the end of the show. So you have any parting thoughts you want to throw out there?
Not really. Be safe, guys. Things are busy. It's really hot out. Be careful if you are running open deck equipment. Drink a ton of freaking water. And I have one carrier who is an older gentleman, and he had to tarp a 9-foot tall load, 8 or 9 foot. And I thought he was going to pass out when I was on the phone with him. He kept saying, I'm going to throw up, I'm going to throw up, I'm going to throw up. So it's super hot. Be safe. Make sure that you're drinking a lot of water and staying hydrated, electrolytes, whatever. It gets hot, and having to get out and tarp for 2 hours can really do a number on this.
Carriers, if you don't know the signs of heat stress, by all means, please look them up. Get that information to your drivers. It is a killer, and I don't care how old you are. The heat does not discriminate on age when it comes to heat stress, heat stroke, etc. I know back when in my maritime days, we had 19-year-old kids in cargo holds passing out from the heat while we were loading ships. It's a bad situation. The last thing you want to do is have to use a crane to lift some kid out of a cargo hold because he passed out from heat exhaustion. This stuff's no joke. It's getting hotter and hotter all the time. Make sure you stay hydrated and safe. Great point, Kate. Thank you for bringing that up. Anything else?
Nope, I think that's it.
Okay. Just to reiterate a few things on my end, we do have the webinar that's out there. Go to my website, vigilanttransport.com. Click on the education tab and register today. Seating is limited for the available offerings that we have. We will be posting more offerings on a weekly basis on the website. I just try to only keep a couple weeks up at a time. Also, check out my newest video, the 12 Deadly Sins of Trucking. The link is there on your screen. That is out on my YouTube page at Double Broker Bounty Hunters. That's going to be a fun one for you to all check out when you're hanging out this evening at the truck stop, trying to get some sleep. The last thing that I do want to bring up is we are now in hurricane season. The first hurricane of the Atlantic season has already been named, Beryl, who is now making her way in through the in around the Caribbean islands. Right now, it looks like it's going to hit the Yucatan Peninsula and avoid the continental United States. However, these things are always unpredictable, so we are going to keep a watch on that. And there are more storms behind it that are forecasted to pop up. So watch the weather. Pay attention to what's going on around you. Pay attention to where the strong storms are, because there seem to be strong storms all the time, all across the country. The last thing you want to be doing is running down the road and get that 70-mile-an-hour gust of wind hitting you broadside. Yeah, that's a fun way to get tipped over in a semi.
And it's supposed to be a super active season. Both the American and European model have made it abundantly clear that it's projected to be incredibly active.
Yeah, normally this time of year, these storms are headed up the East Coast, hitting usually somewhere around the Carolinas and whatnot. To see a storm plowing straight into the Gulf like this one is this early in the year is something to take note of. We typically don't see this until September. So it's definitely something that's got us watching the news a little bit better on. With that being said, folks, stay safe out there, and whatever you go through, remember, don't let scammers take you for a ride. We'll see you again next week.